ゆきえさん、ありがとうございました。The opening act was performed by humming singer Yukie Kakubari. Thank you very much for creating such a beautiful ambience to start our program.
Good evening, everybody. Respected sisters from the Brahma Kumaris, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the Indian community, friends of India in Japan, good evening to you all. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to this special occasion where we come together as a diverse and a united community to honor the presence of an extraordinary leader and spiritual guide, Sister Jayanti of the Brahma Kumaris. It's indeed a privilege for all of us to have Sister Jayanti with us here today. A person whose life and work have inspired millions around the world. Her message of peace, self-transformation and universal love transcends boundaries of nationality, culture and religion. Today, her wisdom unites us, whether we are Japanese, Indian or from other parts of the world, as one humanity. When I see this beautiful community sitting in front of me, I want to say a few words about India-Japan relationship. I don't get to talk to you about it otherwise. As you all know, we have an excellent relationship. India and Japan are very, very friendly countries with very good relationship. We call this relationship today special, strategic, and global partnership. Why do we call it special? It is special because we have no history of conflict. We have only history of friendship. That makes us special. You go to any part of this beautiful country, you can also see an India connect. Whatever way it is, whether it is civilizational connect, cultural connect, spiritual connect, you see a connect. Again, our two countries attach so much values for family. Again, another important connect today. I do not want to get into the details of it. I was lucky to have traveled in this beautiful country all across Japan in the last few months. I am convinced that our friendship is going to stay long. We are going to continue to build this friendship. We live in a very challenging world. Whenever you look around, whenever you hear stories of conflict, violence, many big challenges, geopolitical, geo-economic. What we need today at the end of the day is peace of mind. And that is what Brahma Kumaris can offer. I'm very happy that we have come together. In Japan, as in India, the values of harmony, respect of nature, and the pursuit of inner calm are deeply cherished. Sister Jayanti's teachings align closely with these values, I am told, as she emphasizes the importance of cultivating inner peace as a foundation for creating peace in the world. I had the great honor of meeting her a few minutes back in my office, and while we were talking, one of the things came up was about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is one concept, one theme on which we have been working for several months in India-Japan relations too, as it was the theme which we adopted for the G20 meeting. You know, last year India organized the G20, but the theme of that was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, world is one family. But one act of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam that inspired me a lot is during the COVID-19 pandemic. The whole world was suffering. We in India suffered. People in Japan suffered. People in all across the globe, whether it is Africa or Latin America or Asia, everywhere people were suffering. I feel very happy that the steps taken by India to address the concerns of many countries is something which falls in the purview of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. India during that crisis period supplied vaccines to 100 countries. India supplied medicines to 150 countries. If India had not supplied vaccines to these 100 countries, many of the countries would not have got vaccines at all. This is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. In mind, in spirit, and in your action, we have proven it. So I once again welcome each one of you to this evening's gathering. I wish you a very successful and peaceful year ahead. Once again, I thank the Brahma Kumaris and our beloved sister Jayanti for taking the initiative to come and talk to us. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. And a greeting of peace. Om Shanti. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters. It's a privilege to be here with you this evening, a great joy. And the subject, we approach the world sometimes with fear and anxiety. Sometimes we approach the world with aggression. But how do we manage in today's world? And what is it that we see for the future? Well, I hope that tonight everyone will carry away a message of hope for the future. Why? Because the original state of the human spirit is of goodness, which gives me total conviction, not just hope, but total conviction that the world of the future is going to be based on that goodness. The world has been through a period of darkness, not just for a couple of 100 years, but I would suggest maybe for a few thousand years. But after the night, definitely comes the day. And the day is one of enlightenment. The day is filled with righteousness, with truth, with joy, with love, with peace. And these are the original qualities of the human spirit. It's not a fairy tale that truth has victory, or that goodness prevails finally, that the good will definitely overcome evil, but it's a reality. Think about a dark room, and if you want to banish the darkness, you don't fight with the darkness. You don't bring in a broom to sweep away the darkness. All you have to do is to light one little flame. That one little flame will remove the darkness and there'll be light. And if many flames come together, then the room will be filled with more and more and more light. And so my understanding is that there comes a time in human history when there's huge turbulence, and the cause of the turbulence is when two extreme energies come together. When there's a storm and it's unexpected and it comes suddenly and it comes with great force, then you know that it's on a very simple level, simplistic maybe, but it's energies of the cold and the hot coming together. This is what happened in London in '86, in September. It was around September, October. And suddenly on Thursday afternoon, it became very dark and there was a huge storm. The whole of Friday it continued, and by Friday afternoon, it began to abate. Saturday morning, I went from where I live to Regent's Park, which is where there was going to be a conference. And I couldn't enter the park because the road was littered with trees that had collapsed, trees that had fallen. We lost millions of trees just through that one storm. Thankfully, all human life was saved. Nobody was injured or hurt, because as the storm came, people decided to turn home. But afterwards we were asking, well, how come the weather forecasters didn't tell us? How come we didn't have any information? And what was the cause of all of this? And they said that it was low pressure, high pressure, cold air, hot air coming together that created this very suddenly. And that was the whole of the UK. And so I see how at the present moment the world is going through huge turbulence. On the one side, we see the descending energies, and we get a lot of information about that through all forms of media, especially social media. But on the other side, think about the interesting new developments that are taking place. I'm thinking about how when I first started to teach Raj Yoga meditation in London, I'd been living there since childhood, but it was later on that I studied Raj Yoga, took training, and then came back to London. And at that time, people would hear this term Raj Yoga and say, do I need to bring my mat? Do I need to wear special clothes? And I'd explain that Raj Yoga is actually spirituality and meditation. You come as you are, you don't need to bring anything. But just an indication that around that time, around 50 years ago, yoga had come into our language, but we'd forgotten that the word yoga is not just hatha yoga, but yoga actually means union. And it means union of the self with the divine, the self with the source. And since then, meditation has been increasing in popularity to the point where I think now people would say it's quite fashionable to say, I meditate, or I'm learning to meditate. So there's a change of awareness and attitude. So meditation is one of the indications of the ascending energy. The descending energy is one of falsehood, is one of violence, aggression, the things that we know, the chaos. The ascending energy is much, much quieter, but equally powerful. And meditation is one of those signs. We also see how people across the world are changing their diet to a diet that is plant-based, food and drink, for the benefit of the environment, for the benefit of health for the self, but also from the point of view of compassion, that all forms of life are sacred, and so we need to honor that and preserve all forms of life. We also see the rise of looking at things from a holistic perspective. For me, my first introduction to holistic health began in the early 80s in California, but after that, holistic health, which has been known in India for millennia, suddenly became more and more popular. And here also you have ancient traditions of medicine and healing that have been revered for a long, long time, and that also has a holistic approach, different to just seeing the different organs and separating them from the human being, but looking at things as a whole. We hear about holistic architecture, holistic food. We hear about holistic education. So people are now beginning to look at things from a different perspective. I remember traveling with Dadi Janki, our past leader, and she continued to serve the world till she was 104. She didn't have good health, but it was her connection with the divine that kept her going, and she continued to fulfill her life's mission of service till 104. And that was just a few years ago that she flew away. But Dadi always had a bad cough. And I remember traveling from South Africa to London on an overnight flight, and we'd asked for non-smoking seats, but at that time, all those were already taken. And so Dadi was coughing through the night, and my heart went out to her. Why? Because of the smoke that was reaching us. Today, such a thing wouldn't happen. There's no smoking allowed on flights, or in fact in most public places. And the change happened within a very short time. Very quickly, laws were enacted and things changed dramatically within the space of a year or so, I think. And so positive change is also there if we look for it, but it's more quiet. It's less visible, less noisy. With all of these aspects of the ascending energies, I see how more and more people across the world, little groups of people, come together to talk about values, to talk about what's important for human society. I remember it was in 1988. A project was launched by the Brahma Kumaris in the Houses of Parliament in London. And we just completed another project for which we received 7 Peace Messenger Awards from the UN, 6 of them for nations and one international one for our headquarters in India, in Abu. And the UN asked us to host what was being called a Peace Messenger Initiative on the back of the Peace Messenger Awards. And this became known as Global Cooperation for a Better World. And we had 3 questions we were asking people. One, the question was, how do you see a better world? Secondly, how do you see relationships in that better world? And thirdly, how do you see yourself in that better world? The project ran for 3 years, and it took us 6 months to compile the essence, the summary of all the information that had come in from 128 countries. Perhaps it was the largest non-governmental organization research project that has ever been undertaken. And the map of the world was different at that time. That included every country that had a population of over 1 million. But you'll be interested to know the summary, the result of that. Everybody across the world, whatever their religious or racial background, everybody spoke about a better world, better relationships, and a better self based on values. That's it. Everybody wanted a world of values. Truth and love and peace and responsibility, sincerity, integrity, purity, happiness, joy, honesty. These were the things that were being raised. And it's a fact. A better world doesn't depend on bigger cars or better housing. A better world starts with values. Where do values lie? Not in my hands and my feet, but they lie within the soul, within the spirit. And in a world that's totally materialistic, we've moved very, very far away from the original, the traditional values of the inner being. It doesn't take long to see what's happening to the state of the world. But even at this present time of darkness, when people say what they want is a world of values, how they see the better selves as having values, now that's an answer which tells me what the future is. And so all it needs is a return to the original values, which are the values of every single society and every single human being under the sun. We share the same values. I'll give you one little example of something that came in from Africa. Somebody wrote their vision of this better world, and they said that normally we look at the color of our skin, but the color of our skins may be different. But scratch the surface, and below the skin, the color of our blood, our sweat, and our tears are the same. So surely we are one human family. Your Excellency, you were referring to Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that world family, which is one family, which is also one of the core values that we all share, a time of brotherhood. And so it's possible for us to come back to that state when we come back to our own identity of the spirit. And in this awareness of spirit, through silence, through meditation, contemplation, prayer, whatever it is you choose to use as the journey, we're able to discover the peace that lies within. But as soon as the door of peace opens, you can recognize the other treasures that are also within the self. Love, truth, purity, and joy. These 5 qualities are the original qualities of every human being. And so it's not difficult to create a better world. all we have to do is to press this button. Just connect with the inner being, and you'll discover all those qualities that lie within. And of course, when I experience these in silence, in meditation, I'm then able to put these through in my life, in my actions. And so this is how together, all of us together, can create a better world. And the last thought I want to share, I can't leave it to somebody else. I have to take responsibility for myself. And I can't say, well, how can I make a difference? No, each and every one of us has a sphere of influence, which is a ripple effect. Whatever it is I do, others can be inspired, and there can be a growing, powerful minority. And it doesn't take a majority to change the world. Many years ago, Margaret Mead, the social scientist, stated that whenever there's been any positive change in the world, it's happened because a handful of committed individuals decided to follow that direction. So I believe that the better world is not far away, and we are the ones who hold future destiny in our hands, and we can make it happen. All we have to do is to connect inside and stay in that awareness of the eternal being that I am. The external form can be a whole variety, and there's beauty and diversity. It's wonderful, but the inner goodness of every single human being are these qualities which we share. And so when we experiment with these ideas of inner peace and truth and love, we begin to see that they impact my life, my world begins to change, but beyond that, the bigger world will change also definitely. So the slogan that I am reminded of is, when I change, the world changes also. But I have to be the change that I would like to see happen in the world. In the words of our founding father of India, Mahatma Gandhi, so let me be the change and show the world the way forward. Thank you for your attention. Om Shanti.
Sister Genti, ありがとうございました。Thank you, Sister Genti.
皆さんこんにちは。川口と申します。今日はこんな場所にお招きいただきまして、ジャンティさんと差しで会談をさせていただくという大変貴重な機会をいただきましてありがとうございます。Good afternoon, everybody, and it's my great pleasure to be able to sit side by side with you and talk about the peace and love and the very important stuff that we have to talk. 日本語で両方でやるんですか？
川口まりこさんはバイリンガルでございますので、彼女自身が両方でお話しいただけたらありがたいですね。ハードワークでしょうか。
I try to do my best to translate very inspiring message 非常に感銘を受けるメッセージでした。それでメッセージとしてはなんていうのやはり内面に戻る時代になってきていて、内面に戻る手段として非常にこの瞑想メディテーションが大事だと。I think that the most important message you are trying to convey is that it's a time to get to inner self, not material, but more spiritual, more mindful, more inside. Is it because it's year 2024? Could we do that in 1560 or something like that? 2024年だからこういう時代になったのか、 それとも1500年ぐらいに、西暦1500年ぐらいにそういうことができたのでしょうか。それとも because we have experienced so many turmoils and conflict and the material richness and also the negative part, and also we're suffering from the environmental issues and so on. That's why we are now saying that an inner self is more important.
In English, they have a saying, and I'm sure there's something equivalent in Japanese also, that necessity is the mother of invention. And so when there's a need for something, there's a response that arises to be able to fulfill that need. And so I think that in the last part of the 20th century, as we were beginning to see so much turmoil come up, because although it was a time of peace since 1947, but yet even during peacetime, there have been hundreds of wars. And even today, there's over 120 plus wars going on, little ones, big ones, ones that attract a lot of media attention, ones that are going on quietly somewhere else that is ignored by the media, but it's over 120 something. And so in response to all the confusion and violence outside, human beings really are seeking peace. His Excellency spoke about that earlier. And so it's so important to be able to know the self, come back to the self, and to come to that state of inner peace. And I think more and more people are beginning to do that.
はい、ありがとうございます。Thank you, that's very clear. I read the other day about this ethnography book, and then they were saying that the human race is the only race kill each other. All the other animals, like brutal, what we call brutal, like lions and so on, they don't kill each other. But human is the only race, just species that kill each other. Although they say that we're very smart or wise. Why do you think that happens?
If I think about a roller coaster, I see how there's the ascending car, which needs an engine to go up, but then when it's the car coming down, it doesn't need an engine. Just the force of gravity is pulling it down. So it feels that the negativity of the present world is such that there's not just aggression and violence against each other, but also animals, but also ego and greed and attachment. All of these negative forces are like taking us downwards in a very, very fast speed. And so, given that situation, I have a choice. Do I want to go up, or do I want to carry on going down? And if the soul says, I really want to go up now, then I have to make that conscious decision and make that effort to connect with the source so that I get the power to be able to go on the ascending journey. But I think that in India they talk about 4 ages in a circle: the golden, the silver, the copper, and the iron age. And what I'm seeing is the iron age, the age of darkness. The word in Hindi is Kali-yug, and the word Kal means death, it means machine, it means darkness. And so we're in that space where things are moving very rapidly downwards. And yes, you're right, human beings are the most intelligent species on the planet, maybe even in the universe, who knows, but definitely on this planet. But yet on the other side, the things that we do are a little bit crazy.
Maybe that we're given both wisdom and also the brutality. 今のお話の中で、いろいろその日本とインドとの共通点があるよということと、やはりその日本の価値観とか古い価値観に戻ろうと、オリジナルな価値観に戻ろうということを何度もおっしゃっていて、でもう本当にそういう時代になったんだなというふうに私も思ってます。 それで私ずっと仕事でサステナビリティを、企業の方ですとか投資家ですとか個人の方にいろいろとお話をする機会が多いんですけれども、日本でサステナビリティっていうと意識高い系の横文字のなんか国連の方から来ました系になっていて、なんとなく意識高い横文字輸入コンセプトって思われがちなんですね。で、like you said that, yeah, you mentioned that we should go back to the original concept or the values that we used to have. And I feel very same because I teach sustainability to many people. But when I talk about sustainability, it's like an imported concept. Somebody from the United Nations came over and teaching us. It's that kind of the recipe people think that way. And I think it's a big pity that we should have a word in Japanese or more close to Japanese concept. So I'm trying to sort of interpret the sustainability concept in alphabet into Japanese. で、それで私がやっぱり日本語でこのサステナビリティを、日本語にすると持続可能性なんですけど、この持続可能性っていうのも漢字だらけでなんか日本語っぽくないなと思っていて、で仕事でやるならいいんだけれども、ピンとくる概念としてはあんまりピンとこないだろうなということで、本来であればおかげさまとかっていうコンセプトだったり、お天道様が見ているとか、おかげさまとか、あとはその環境問題ももったいないとか、こういった平たい日本語にするといいなと。I'm telling them that, the right expression or the old way of saying, easy, simple way of saying, sustainability into もったいない。もったいない means that, it's a pity that we should waste this kind of message. And おかげさま is more difficult. おかげさま is that by sake of or by the power of somebody is that kind of meaning. Thank you, おかげさま is what we usually say. Your success is not only your own, but supported, but all of them is that the kind of word that we have. And that kind of concept or the word that we have without noticing.
Maybe gratitude is what we would say in English, because then there's that appreciation that it's not just me, but others around me, one or two or many around me that has helped. And I was thinking about one word that's very much connected with sustainability, which is something that's very much part of the traditional culture here, is respect. Respect for all aspects of life, for nature itself and for whatever nature has provided. And so, yes, the concept of no waste, that's a very important aspect, but gratitude, respect, no waste, all these are part of the whole expression of sustainability. And also in the traditional Aboriginal thinking in North America, what they would say with the Red Indians, but the Aboriginal natives, they would say, don't just think about yourself in one life, think about 7 generations and how whatever it is I do today is going to impact 7 generations. So if I'm thinking that far ahead, then definitely I'm not going to be wasting anything now. I'm going to making sure that I leave behind a legacy of something for the future. And if I look at what the present generation has done in terms of people of my age or younger than me also, we haven't thought about the future and the generations to come. We've taken everything from nature and the earth without thinking about how are others going to manage after us. Probably you know the statistics more than I do, but they say that currently we're using 1.5 times more the resources of the planet than we should be. And so what we're leaving behind for the next generation, I can see why young people like Greta Thunberg, for example, they're not just passionate about the environment, they're actually quite angry they're angry with us. What did we do to the planet and what are we leaving for them?
That's like Greta Thunberg. When she came up to the United Nations and when she made a speech, what the grown-ups are doing. グレタ・トゥンベリさんが怒ったのは、日本ではなんか変な女の子みたいな、何をヒステリックなっていうネガティブな反応だったんですけど、若い世代で、今の自分たちが生まれた状況でこんなに環境がおかしくなってでかつ気候変動問題なんていうのが1980年代90年代から IPCC のレポートがあって専門家の人が知ってたわけで97年の京都議定書でだから CO2 を減らさなきゃいけないっていう議定書ができたにもかかわらず何にも減ってないところがずっと増えてるってそれは起こるよね。It's telling that, yeah, why Greta was so angry? Because, from the 80s and 90s, that the scientists were saying that global warming is happening. And actually, we have the Kyoto Protocol and everything. But actually, the result is not decreasing, but increasing all the time.
I was very interested when it was in Glasgow at the COP there a couple of years ago that I heard the figures. And at that time, the oil and gas industry had 500 plus delegates, and the nearest country mission delegation was 430 something from Brazil. And people like the Marshall Islands, who are about facing extinction, they had 2 people there. And so you can see that, and then last year in Dubai, there were 1,000 plus delegates from the oil and gas industry. And so you can see the direction that things are taking. And if we come back to the subject of what is good for the planet, what is good for humanity, we have to move away from fossil fuels. And I believe that we have enough information and research and development has been done to be able to source other forms of energy. And I don't just mean the renewable energies of wind and solar. Of course, that's important. And at the present time, Brahma Kumaris are the single largest users of renewable energies in India as an organization. Also, I'm thinking about things like neutrino energy, things like this. There are new things that are opening up every day. But of course, where there's a vested monetary interest, then other developments get blocked. I'm very interested in your comments about how you see the global compact working for the betterment of humanity.
グローバルコンパクトがない世界とある世界をちょっとない世界っていうのがないので比較はできないんですけれども because there's no world without global compact since 2000. So very difficult to say, but because of the global compact, I think it empowered those people, even in the business society. It's not just making money, but making people happy with their business is more important than just making your own money. So that may facilitated or empowered that part of the people. But there are other parts who care about and for their money, selfish money. So it's like, conflict from this side, the more peaceful way, or it's think about 7th generations kind of way of thinking people, and the money today is more important. So because of this, they have a base to get together. Without that, all those people were separated. But because of that, they could get together and they could be visible.
So this is another one of the signs of the ascending forces, the energies that are carrying us upwards, so another good sign. And so I'm seeing that you've also been involved with CSR, and so corporate social responsibility. And again, I see that as being another sign of the goodness of humanity emerging in a very powerful, positive way. I know that it used to be that just the dollar was the bottom line and the most important thing. But now it's not just that. There's the question of environment, but also social responsibility. And you see, sometimes people say that our greatest resource is the human resource, because it's the qualities of the human being that create a company. It's not just the accountants, but it's the quality of the human input that's going to create a company. And so the acknowledgement of that, I'm so glad that you're involved not just in sustainability, but all these other issues also.
環境と人権とかそれ以外の問題っていうのは切り離せないと思うんですよね。で、サステナビリティっていうと環境だけのことを考える人もいれば人権だけのことも考える人がいて、で結構言葉が人によってバラバラだなと思うんですけれども、やはりこれから本当にサステナブルということを考えたら、地球のサステナビリティがなければ、誰も生き残れないし、社会のサステナビリティがなければ幸せに生きることができないので、両方が同時に発生されなければいけないと思います。You know, the word sustainability, depending on people just care about the environment. Some people care about humanity. But these were so combined or so together.
What I've seen through the work that I do is that when there's an awakening of consciousness and the awakening of the spiritual identity, then there's, of course, immediately a concern for human relationships, but also there's a concern for the home that we share. And it's one planet, one home for all of us. And so it's important that we work together to protect that. And I see that maybe this is the one unifying force that can bring all people together. In the field of interfaith, I've seen that when it comes to religion, we talk different things. But when it comes to working for the environment, all the traditions come together and say that, yes, life is sacred, nature is sacred, our home is sacred. And so it's become a very powerful unifying force. And I think that it can go further for everybody, not just for interfaith people, but for everyone.
先ほどのお話の中に、ダイバースバというユナイテッドっていう言葉があって、でそれはもう多様なんだけれども、やはり皆さんつながっているっていうようなことで、今のお話を伺っていて思ったんですけれども、我々は違いを見つけすぎてきちゃったかなっていう、肌の色が違う、言葉が違う、宗教が違うから、だからこうやって付き合わなければいけないんだっていうことで、前のミレニアムは来たように思うんですよね。でもこれからのミレニアム、みんなの意識が変わってるっていうこともそうなんですけれども、違いを超えて、一緒にあるもの、共通なもの、今のお話であったように、やっぱり命というのは全て非常に聖なるものであるとか、やっぱりこの子供が生まれたらどこでも同じようにどんな民族でも同じようにお祝いをするっていうそういう感覚ですとか、死に対しての嘆く感覚だとか、その辺は似ているので、やっぱりこの世紀というのは共通点を探す時代で、前の世紀が違いを見つけて、そこから科学的な知見を得たり、どちらかっていうとものを細分化して見ていって、細かいところまで顕微鏡で見て、違いを見て、それを科学的にいろいろな新しい知恵を得てくる時代だったとすると、今度は鳥になって、上から見て何がつながっているんだと、地面にいたらわからないけど何がつながっているのか見る時代なのかなというふうに思いました。でaccording to what you have said, that diversity but united is also important, and you are saying that people are sacred. So my feeling is that the last millennium is the millennium for seeking the difference. By seeking the difference and looking by the microscope, you could find so many different things, and that's how we developed our science. In a way, maybe that was very helpful. That's it. But what we should be doing now is to see what is the common, not through the microscope, but from the open high air, in the high sky, telescope, and then see what's happening on the ground. If you are standing on the ground, you won't be able to see, but if you are higher up, you could see all the pictures. that's kind of wisdom that we should be searching, and then your meditation really works. But for the thinking this way, you don't need actually lots of mindset. If you're very smart and wisdom, they could do that. But when you're trying to integrate, you have to take care of the difference, or you have to accept the difference. So you need the other kind of wisdom.
The other kind of wisdom that you're talking about is, I would use the word spirituality. And spirituality isn't isolated to one religion. Spirituality is at the heart of every single tradition. The external rituals or scriptures or the external places that we have might be very different. But if one goes on the inner journey through any one of the different traditions, we come to the same space of shared values, but also a shared mystical experience. And so with spirituality, you're talking about being up above and being able to look down below. Well, it's one of the things that we can do. With spiritual awareness, I can detach from my limited identity and be a little bit distant to whatever it is that's going on, so that I can be a compassionate observer, not just a detached observer, but a compassionate observer of what's going on. Then in that awareness, I can see the differences, but I can also see what it is that can bring us together. And I can see what role it is I need to play at this moment, given the circumstances of the world. Otherwise, if I'm isolated, I'm seeing things from a very selfish perspective and my own narrow point of view. But yes, I need to be up above.
はい、ありがとうございます。全体思考ということで、今おっしゃったように、宗教って根本は同じことを伝えたいんだけど、その場所によって、砂漠地帯とか寒いところとか、そういう場所とかいろいろなカルチャーによって違う言い方をした方がそこでは伝わりやすいからっていう形で違う言い方をしてたら、その違う部分の方が大きくなって戦ってるのかなと。根本の共通点より違う点がなんか今注目されてすぎているのかなと思いました。で魂がつながってるっていうようなお話なんですけど、私がいつも思うのはこれ木みたい、木ってトゥリーの木ですね。枝があって葉っぱがついています。で葉っぱだけ見ると光を得るために葉っぱ同士ですごい争いをして、で枝同士でまた争ってるんですよね。ここを登ってみたりとか太陽の光を得るためにで争ってるんですけど、結果全部同じ木なのに枝と葉っぱはそれぞれ争っていて、だからやっぱり葉っぱ同士やっぱりこれは同じ木だから共通だよねって認識するのか、この枝とあの枝で戦っているっていうところで止まるのか、その違いでやっぱりこれは木だっていうことをみんな認識したら、同じ木にみんなついてるじゃないかっていう、そういう知恵がメディテーションで生まれるのかなと思いました。Inspired by your comment, you said that the soul is so connected and you are connected. And I usually say example as a tree. Trees with 枝って何て言うんでしたっけ？branch and the leaves. If you look at the branch and leaves, actually leaves are fighting for sunlight. And the branches are also fighting for sunlight. But if you just look at it, it's one tree. It's the same thing. But actually this branch and that branch is actually fighting. So it's like, we're like leaves, branches, or the tree itself. But people just acknowledge you are a part of a tree. Same tree, everybody is part of the same tree.
And in fact, the branches and the leaves don't need to fight. They have a direct connection through the trunk, right down into the roots. And so their source of sustenance is right from the roots. They're able to draw that water. And if any one branch doesn't get that water, it would die. But all the branches in a normal, healthy tree all survive because you're drawing from the roots. And so I see how, in terms of spirituality and humanity, we belong to the same tree. And different branches through the ages have supported humans endeavors in a different way. So whether it's the branch of one religion or another religion, each one appears at its own time in human history, but they all draw strength from the roots. And what's happened today is that it's not even so much the main branches anymore. It's like many little twigs that have come up. And so, again, it's very much a reminder that we have to come back to the roots, to that which is our source of unification in terms of the strength and nourishment that we can get. And so on the one side, it's interesting because we were talking about being up above, but on the other side, I have to go deep, deep, deep down to be able to draw that nourishment.
やっぱり戦ってるように見えるっていうのは我々が戦うっていうコンセプトが好きだからかもしれないんですね。今のお話だといやいや戦ってるように見えてるんじゃなくて木の戦略としてよりここだけじゃなくてこっちからも火を得るためにはこの枝にこっちに行ってもらってるだけで戦わせてるつもりはないっていうことなのかなというふうに思いました。You know, the why I said the branches are fighting each other, but maybe our mindset. The people don't. First, they fight each other.
No, it's a reality of today's world.
So maybe we are poisoned with that kind of way of thinking.
I go back to what you were sharing earlier. If we see specialities and virtues in each one, then we're more likely to support each other, cooperate together, and then co-create a better world together. But if my vision is negative and I just see fault and weakness and deficiency, then that level of criticism is poison for me because it's destroying my feelings of love and peace. And of course, the way I respond to others also then is without that love and peace. And so yes, and when there's conflict, there's no creation happening. It's destruction that's happening. And so it's so important that we come back to the awareness of who we are and see others with that same vision of being spirit rather than just the bodies that they occupy. And in that vision, yes, I think that the process of co-creation can again begin.
気づきをつながっているということと、あとその戦う競争が人間社会の原理だって言われてたけど、実は本当は共同するっていうか常に働くっていう原理が最初にあったはずだよねっていうことを思い出させてくれる。なぜかっていうとみんな根っこは同じところにつながってて上ばっかり違いがのところじゃなくて下の同じルートであることを見つけるっていうことだというふうに理解しました。それで日本の事例でこの話によく似てるなと思うのは三着三寸橋ってご存知ですか？三角三寸って大体1メートルぐらいなんですよね。で、これは天国と地獄の話なんだけども、ある人が天国に行きました。で、そしたらば、そうです。最初地獄に行ったと。で、地獄に行ったら、なんか、宴会場みたいになってて、ごちそうが山のように積まれてて、地獄ってあれ何食べるものいっぱいあるじゃないかっていう話だったんですけど、みんなが持ってたお箸が三尺三寸長いので、いくらやっても食べられないと言って、みんな食べ物の前でなんか苦しんでるとか怒ってるとか戦ってた。それが地獄です。みんなだから誰も食べられない飢えていると。で、同じ人が今度天国を見せてもらいました。そしたら同じように宴会場で山のように食べ物同じじゃない。で、同じみんな三尺三寸の箸を持ってるんですけれども、唯一の違いは相手に食べさせてる。だから全員食べることができて全員に分をしてる。There's an anecdote in Japan about like 1 meter chopsticks. A person went to hell one day, and then at the hell there was a big table with lots of food. Did you know the story? People were feeding each other.
Yes, it's a very lovely image of either support or just selfishness. And so when we, in the awareness of a human family, then we want to support each other and help each other. So I think that the whole subject of sustainability also is connected with this. Because whilst we used to think that climate change is just for the southern countries or it's just for one part of the globe was just the little islands, it's nothing to do with us. Well, the last few years have given us proof that we're all in the same boat. The water is coming into the boat, and today it might be there, but gradually it's going to reach my feet also. And I think that the northern countries, having been hit by climate change in different ways, for example, as soon as I landed here in Osaka, arrived there this time, it was September, and this is just last Thursday, and it was 35 degrees Celsius. And everybody said that this is not the temperature for September, it's the temperature maybe for mid-August or July, but not for September. So this is just the beginning, because this is what scientists have been telling us for a long time, that the climate is warming up, the globe is getting hotter and hotter. The glaciers are melting, not just little glaciers, but big glaciers in the Antarctica. Somebody I know was in the Antarctica last year, and they said that they were expecting to see just white, just the snow and the ice. But now there were lots of patches of brown where the glaciers had melted, and now it was just the other brown mud that was visible. And so can you imagine this huge continent, the Antarctica, and it's actually melting, and it's due to human intervention, human interference. And so there has to be a change in human activity, and we move away from selfishness to the concern for all together as one human family. And I think whether we like it or not, the situation of the world is pushing us in that direction. So we don't actually have a choice. We either learn to live together and cooperate together, or we don't see a future.
で今いろいろと環境の今の現状、地球環境の温暖化の問題をお話しいただいたんですけれども、それを頭で分かっててもアクション取らなきゃいけないって言ってもなかなか取れない理由っていうのは、多分今のお話で分かったのは恐れがあるから、なんか自分が先にやってあげちゃうと誰かに乗っ取られるかもしれないみたいな、なんか三着三寸も自分が食べる前に人にあげようって話なんですよね。そうするともらえるんですけど、人にあげちゃったら取られてどっか行っちゃうかもしれないとか、なんか相手を信用しない、その恐れっていうのがあって、でだからまず自分が取ってからっていうアクションになるので、なかなか進まないので、そこで恐れを取ってみんな結局一緒だってなったら、先にあげてから後からもらえるんだったらいいんじゃないのかな。でつまらない恐れがないと相手に出すってことができて、そういうストラテジーを取らなきゃいけないのかな。What I just thought is that people are acknowledging that their current environment is getting worse and worse, so that the people are saying that we should do something. Actually, scientists are saying this and that. The reason why we could not actually do the effective method is that the fear that we have, maybe because if I give first, maybe he will go away with that kind of feeling. But with this chopstick story tells us, give first, then you will be given. But what we learned is take first, then give. So it's the opposite. If you do that, but I think that's a fear that if I give first, then he will get away with that. So erase that kind of fear is maybe a best way, and I hope this meditation will actually erase this kind of.
Whether it's Buddhism or Christianity or Hinduism or the other teachings of the East, everybody believes that as you sow, so shall you reap. The quality of seeds that you sow are going to bring the fruits that you have sown. And so if I want to have a world of love and justice and peace, those seeds have to be sown through my thoughts, my words, and my actions right now. And I think we're coming to an end of this particular part of the program. And I really am seeing that we're from different parts of the world. We have different cultures, different foods, but the concepts that we're sharing are very, very similar. And so it's actually a proof that whatever the external differences may be, when we share the same values, then of course our hearts are together, our minds are together, and we work together for a better world. So thank you.
Can I just have one more phrase? Like you said that the Asian wisdom or the Oriental wisdom, like you said, will be the savior of this millennium. It's what I thought when I had my boy born year 2000. My concept is that this millennium is going to be the Oriental wisdom will save. And then I named my son Asato, meaning that the Asian wisdom. And he was a millennium baby.
Beautiful, thank you. Thanks for sharing.
It's very spiritual and also very stimulated. Thank you very much.
川口まりこさん、ありがとうございました。Thank you very much, Miss 川口まりこ。
In this atmosphere of gentle quiet, I turn my attention inwards and go deeper and deeper within the self. And I come to that space within, a sacred space where only I can enter. And in this space, there is quiet. And I can watch my thoughts. And simply observing my thoughts slows down the speed. And now I select one thought and I put away from my mind all the other thoughts that are floating around. I'll come back to them later, but now, for the moment, I focus on just the thought of peace. I hold peace. peace in my mind. And begin to feel the peace within. I am a being of light. I am a being of peace. This is my natural state of being. This is who I am. And in this awareness of the inner being, a being of peace, I can sense the presence of the divine, and my thoughts move towards that being who is the supreme, the source of all positive attributes. My thoughts connect with the source, and from the source flows an ocean of peace. The waves of peace reach me, and the power of my own inner peace multiplies. The waves of peace reach out to the human family, so that those who desire are also able to absorb those waves. The peace reaches out to all forms of life, so that they too experience peace. As they experience peace from the ocean, they feel safe, protected, and from the divine, peace reaches all the elements of nature, the earth, the air, the water, fire, and space. Peace surrounds our entire planet. I know that the future is what I choose to make it. I make the choice today that I will follow the path of peace, so that I can contribute to creating a world of peace. Om Shanti. I carry this peace with myself, so that it informs my thinking, my speaking, and my doing, so that together we create a better world. Om Shanti.
Greetings of peace on behalf of Brahma Kumaris, Japan. Heartfelt thanks and gratitude to His Excellency Mr. C.B. George, Ambassador of India to Japan, the First Secretary Culture of Education, Mr. Umesh Notial, also to all embassy staff who are here to support us despite of holiday. My heartfelt thanks to speaker Sister Jenti and Miss Mariko Kawaguchi for such wonderful dialogue with Sister Jenti, and also beautiful humming song Miss Yuki Kakobari. She has created beautiful ambience, and everyone, those who are present here today, to give your valuable time. Thank you from the heart. Om Shanti.